For Grenada to realize its true potential, we must all be a part of nation building. From every corner of the world, our sons and daughters carry the spirit of the Spice Isle in their hearts through culture, innovation, investment, and service. Now is the time to come home to your beautiful Tri-Island state, to reconnect with our roots, share our knowledge, to inspire our youth, and to help shape a stronger, more resilient economy for generations to come. We are all part of the collective journey to shape the future of our nation. Together, we are building a nation we are proud of, a nation defined by opportunity, unity, and purpose. Grenada is more than a place on the map. It is our heritage, our future, our home. We look forward to welcoming you.
Welcome to the island's boldest ATV experience. The only tour daring enough to bring you this level of excitement, freedom, and adrenaline. Feel the power. Conquer rugged trails. Experience breathtaking views. Ride beyond the ordinary. Feel the power. This is not just a tour. This is the power of Ride ATV. Get ready for fun. Get ready for excitement. Get ready to ride. Book now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Ride ATV. Adventure starts here.
Yeah. Right along live, welcome to the ride. Wednesday on the ride. Almost forgot the days of the week. Yeah, the days of the week are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yesterday was Tuesday, so today's Wednesday. All right, yes. Yeah, man, welcome to the ride. Tag a friend, guys, because today we're going to have a very interesting conversation. Ongoing, seemed like prolonged conversation, but you know, we have to deal with it front and head on. And tonight we decide to do just that. Yes! We're wasting no time, guys, because today we have, I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Carter, right? He's a veterinarian surgeon. And of course, Nugent Bernard, he's a livestock production manager. Because you know what the conversation, or where the conversation have been leading in the past couple of weeks, at least a week. It seems like the horses took over the conversation on social media. First, we heard from, I believe his name is Mr. Smith. He is the consignee to the affected party in this particular case here. His story is he purchased some livestock. He purchased some horses. Now, the guy is a tourism. I mean, he's really interested into the tourism aspect of things. So what he do is he ride horses along the Grand Anse area, Grand Anse Beach area. I've seen him in the Camahan Park area. And he, you know, kids pay and they ride. And he really contribute to the positive upliftment of Grenada tourism, right? So apparently, the initial reports, when I first heard of it, he was on a vlogger's program saying that he purchased these horses and imported those horses into Grenada. And look what happened. The story that he told at the time was that the government somehow, after they found out that the horses, or after it was told that the horses was infected with a tick-borne infection, the horses came to Grenada, was imported into Grenada, and then the government and the horses was euthanized. A nice way to say that the horses was destroyed, right? So that was his story. Now, the story blew up on social media with very uncertainty as to why the government will do such a thing, right? What would lead the government or the Ministry of Agriculture to take such action against the horses. So yesterday, the Prime Minister, on his program, he said that today at 10 o'clock, there will be a press conference to deal with this particular matter involving the horses. And yes, it did happen. Today, press release, the government released this statement. Take a quick.
Members of the media, the listening public, my colleagues, members of the Ministry of Agriculture, pleasant good morning. So I would like to just expound a bit on what P.S. Javon would have just alluded to. On the 29th of May, the Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, through the Veterinary and Livestock Division, wishes to inform the public of a recent serious national biosecurity breach incident involving the smuggling of 2 horses from St. Lucia into Grenada. The facts is, no import permit was granted for the importation, which clearly it's a violation of our Animal Disease and Importation Act, Section 3, which requires a valid permit for the importation of any animal product that comes into the country. 2, the disease status of the animals. Official health documentation from the Chief Veterinary Officer in St. Lucia confirmed that both horses were tested positive for Babesia. Secondly, there was no vaccination history for neither one of the horses. And number 3, neither one of these horses were pregnant. And this is official documentation. Equine babesiosis is the only reportable tick-borne disease to the World Animal Health, OIE. And Grenada has not had any reportable cases of equine babesiosis. And under our national policy, animals that test positive, even our import permit, indicates that they are strictly prohibited from entering the country. I would also like to add that veterinarians, any veterinarian that is practicing within the Tri-Island state, that encounter any reportable disease and did not report it to the competent authority is committing a crime. I would also like for our professionals to familiarize themselves with international and local legislation. It is important because you must report any reportable disease.
All right, so joining us right now to bring some context to this whole conversation, as I said earlier here, is, of course, you've seen him because he had put out a video in response to this. Dr. Kenrith Carter, he's a veterinarian surgeon, over 12 years experience, and of course, Nigeria Bernard, livestock production, been working for a number of years. Let me unmute this guy's microphone and welcome them to the ride for the first time. First, starting with you, Dr. Carter. How are you, my friend?
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Nice.
I've been slingshot into the situation, but I'm going to handle it as well as I could.
Well, nice. I think you're one of the best, if not the best person at this point in time to give us some context to what's happening here. And also joining us is Nigeria Bernard. He is a livestock production manager, formerly a livestock production manager. I think that's his career path, and he worked with the ministry for over a period of time. Nigeria, welcome to the ride. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you very much. Right along, I'm okay, doing extremely fine. Thanks for having me on your program. I hope I can provide some useful information to the situation that is at hand.
Absolutely, I believe so. I believe so. All right, so let's start with you, Dr. Bernard. Dr. Carter. Sorry. Based on the government explanation here, right? Do the facts justify euthanizing the euthanization of the horses? And from the standpoint of a veterinarian, would quarantine normally have been the first option? What's your take?
Okay, so I have looked at that interview multiple times today. I think it was a press release. I thought it would have been a press conference where they took questions. No,
It was. It
it
was.
was well put together. It was
They did
well
take.
put together.
They did take
Pardon?
questions. It was a press
Okay,
conference because they did take
I didn't
questions.
see that part. Sorry.
Okay.
The response was well put together. I think what the horses actually had was equine paraplasmosis, and the causative agent for that would be Babesia cabale. Now, the pretext that the government used was that the individual, Mr. Smith, was introducing a new disease to the country. That would be false. There has been documented that Babesia cabale and what is called equine paraplasmosis have been recorded and published by scientific review in Grenada since 2016. So this disease would have already existed a decade in the island. It also has been said to be affecting around 75% of the horses on the island. Now, I don't want to use a big number here because we don't have more than 50 horses in Grenada. So 75%, just say 1 in every 4 horses that was tested. The actual study could be found. You could look it up online, and it was 27 actually horses and donkey. They tested animals in Grenada, in Barbados, and in Curacao. All right. Now, put that aside. It is true that an import permit is required for bringing in any animal into the country. The truth is, it is much easier to send a dog from Grenada to the US than to bring your dog from Grenada back from the US to Grenada. The limitations on the import permit, normally you might wait weeks to get a response from the Ministry of Agriculture. So you can send in your documentation. I understand the farmer said he sent in his documentation. He was assured verbally. I would advise anyone you're dealing with official processes, never take a verbal assurance when you're doing these things. Always make sure you have written documentation. And if you have a verbal assurance, make sure you email that person reiterating the verbal assurance and make sure that they can authenticate it. You must always have written documentation when you're dealing with these things. As for the situation with the horses, the disease is caused by ticks. We do have the ticks here in Grenada, so they were not introducing ticks either. The disease has been recorded here in Grenada, but the horses themselves, although they tested positive, the farmer said, no, I did not see any of the documentation. I tried to maintain some plausible deniability because I'm not really involved in the situation. I do not work for the ministry. I do not work for the local institutions, except Dr. Carter Vet and the livestock consultancy. However, my expertise were consulted on the matter. The disease itself is treatable in many cases. The treatment does exist in Grenada. Actually, I did prepare this little thing here. It comes in an injection like that. That's the treatment for Babesia. The problem is the treatment does not always work. So the protocol that was established by the World Health Organization in a place where it existed before, the recommendation would be to treat the animal and quarantine it. If it is new to a location, the reason it is reportable is because it affects equine trade, the sale of meat and live horses. It does not affect the whole human health aspect. It was first presented to the public as an issue of national biosecurity where everybody was going to get infected. There is 100 different strains of Babesia, and in that 100 strains, only 8 are zoonotic, which means only 8 can be transmitted to humans. The one the horse suffer from, which is Babesia cabale, cannot be transmitted to humans. It is not zoonotic. It is transmitted by ticks. It could go between horses. It could also go from horses to donkeys and animals in the Equidae family. It is specific to that species or that species set. It cannot go to humans. So the biosecurity aspect of things where humans were going to get infected, everybody was going to get sick, that is not a sound assumption. The part with introducing a new disease to the island, that has also been proven by the scientific literature not to be accurate as well. So the only thing they had there was a legal background to say that the individual did not have a legal import permit. And I guess that's the authority of the ministry to decide the course of action. The chief vet did say that they looked into quarantine and they did not have the treatment nor the quarantine, and they consulted with other local institutions. I did not hear from them. They have my number as well as my email. I heard from the farmer. The farmer said he was going to quarantine the horses on his property, which has been allowed. I have clients came in with dogs that did not have the right regulations, and they had to quarantine it in their boats before they got access to Grenada. So it is something that leniency has been expended to people in the past. It's not a and all. I've seen people bringing dogs, cat, usually dogs and cat. For something as large as a horse, I'm still ridiculing the fact that they chose to use the word smuggle. So how do you smuggle a horse that came well packaged on a boat? It left a port in a crate. It landed on a port in a crate. I mean, if the individual was trying to smuggle the animal, he could have used other means. I mean, horses are very good swimmers. I'm not going to suggest how people should try to smuggle things. I don't think you should smuggle. I think you should get the right documentation. But horses are good swimmers. And to come from St. Lucia, you pass Grenada. From time you hit Carrick, come down to St. George's Harbour, you pass the whole mass of Grenada. So if the individual was trying to smuggle the horse, for instance, he could have just put them off the boat and let them swim to shore. The irony is now that the owner is the only person with a proper horse carrying trailer, and I think he also does contracts for the government. So I don't know what their relationship is. That would not have been the first encounter. He also have brought in other horses. We have horse came from Barbados, Trinidad, and St. Lucia. There are other horses in Grenada as well that came from St. Lucia. There are other horses that came from other islands. So I'm not confused as to why they gave a justification why they destroyed the animal. And the method in which they destroyed the animal is actually probably even more human than an injection. It's kind of barbaric in the public eyes that you're going to shoot an animal, but the fastest way to euthanize a horse, most horses can weigh 1,000 pounds, would be blunt force trauma, normally by gunshot. Actually, it's one of the standard way of euthanizing a horse. So the part of how they euthanize, get that out the door. And the animal cruelty side of things, get that out the door. The human aspect of things as to could leniency be applied? I think that Mr. Smith was a victim of time and the day of the week. Today is Wednesday. If you're ever going to bring an animal in the country, try to bring it in before Wednesday. Because with the public workers, when it comes to Friday, a lot of rash decisions are made because most people don't like working on the weekends.
Okay.
I've experienced that in the past. I've lost thousands of vaccines on the port because the boat came up late on a Friday and they didn't want to clear it. And by Monday, my shipment of medication was spoiled. So I understand that. The other aspect would be that it happened at the end of May. Now, we can assume that they reach out to the local university, but all the students are gone, all the professionals are gone. Mostly only the local staff are left. They don't have the capacity to hold the house because there's no one there now. If the individual would have brought in this house probably in March, April, when there were students around, there were people to use that, because he did use an emotional outcry at start that could have protected the house, or say we have facilities available. Maybe there would have been a different outcome. I cannot speak for other people. I, a Dr. Carter vet, although I have the treatment for the horses, I don't have the facility to quarantine them. You know, a horse is a large animal.
Right.
But I have seen situations in the past where leniency were applied. Like last year when the goats came in, there were 6 goats in a pen that was suited for 1 goat. They didn't have quarantine facilities, but the animals came. They made the facilities available to quarantine the animals. Some of these animals are still in these facilities. So the excuse of not having adequate quarantine facilities, I think it's a reach just to justify the action. I think leniency should have been applied since it could have been treated. The other question I have, which I hear nobody say, if it was one claim they make that there was no certification from the vet in St. Lucia, but another claim stated that the certification document from the vet in St. Lucia stated they were positive with Babesia. So was there a document or was there not a document, you know? So
Right.
it's 2 different contradicting stories there on the same documentation that does not exist and still exist.
Right.
That one only the ministry could say. What I would ask them is why were the animal
there.
tested in
I think
Grenada?
we have a lot. We have a lot to ingest there. And
No, I'm
talk about
talking
that.
too
But
much.
there's no. You're talking to. There's a lot. There's a lot. I want to take it in phases. Eugene, based on you heard Dr. Carter's response here, and based on your knowledge, right?
Procedures used worldwide to prevent the
On the
introduction.
wrong one. Nugent, based on your knowledge and experience as a livestock production manager working at the port of entry, do you think that the process was done correctly? And what's your take? What's your overall take on it? And if you could bring back the mic, the phone a little bit, Eugene, because I'm seeing just your part of your forehead.
Oh, we see is your head.
Go down a little bit. Just go down a little bit so we see your face. Right. All right, Eugene. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would, for the records, just clarify that I'm a livestock production specialist. That's my area, my core area of training. But experience also training and experience in quarantine matter. So my approach would be basically from a quarantine standpoint, since I have provided that kind of support while I work in the ministry for the last 32 years, right? There are something that we need to get clear. Now, there are standards, what we call international standards for plant quarantine. And ISPMS, just to educate the public a bit, when I did the training in UE 2015, there were 36 of them. And those were the principles and guidelines for the movement of basically plants, because ISPM does not really address the issue of livestock, right? The issue of livestock, I think, is addressed by the IOC, and that organization later become World Organization for Animal Health. And they have very specific rules and guidelines for the movement of animals from country to country. Now, just to deal with ISPM 1, ISPM 1 provides what they call sovereignty. Any country, based on the aspect of sovereignty, can make a decision as to whether they want to accept or not to accept, right? That's a fundamental right that they have. But the ISPM rules state that if you take in that position, it must be careful not to interfere with trade, because they go back to the World Health, to globalization and all them kind of thing. It must be fair. It must be a balanced decision. It must not be one that interferes with competition. It must be necessary, and you must provide scientific evidence why you debarring. Okay? Now, how the ministry handle this horse issue? From a quarantine standpoint, I will tell you off the bat, no animal is supposed to leave any port or depart any port without proper quarantine document in terms of a permission as received by the receiving country. So in other words, somebody who wants to, like in this case, the guy wants to import the horses from St. Lucia. We must know from our ministry standpoint, if St. Lucia is a country of red flag, where we do not accept animals from. As far as I know, when I went into the ministry, there were a number of countries that we do not accept animals from, period. All right? And, but if there is a country that we take animal from, one, the person who has interest in bringing that animal could either come into the ministry and express that, that desire verbally, or they can email the ministry and say, look, I want to bring in this. The ministry then would send them some requirements in terms of what are the disease of concern to us, and they would have to have that whatever test is necessary. But anyway, what is needed eventually would be a health certificate from the country of origin showing the health status of the animal. Now, once the health status of the animal is presented and the competent authority here, in this case, the chief veterinary officer, is satisfied based on Grenada's interest, he will then issue a permit. That permit gives whoever it is the right to bring in whatever animal, whether dog, cat, sheep, goat, whatever it is. All right? Now, unless that permit is not given, nobody has the right to bring in any animal into the country.
I'm going to break your
so from
Eugene, but we still see the top of your forehead there. Just so you know, we not seeing your face at all.
So unless the permission, that valid permission from the ministry. So it doesn't matter whether the permission takes 2 days, 3 weeks. One would expect that the ministry would expedite things and give you information on a time, in a timely manner. But if it so happens that you did not get that information in the manner that you expected, then that does not give you the right to bring in the animal, right? So then if somebody brings in an animal without due permission, without having a permit, at the port of entry, the first thing the officer would ask you, can I please see your health certificate and your import permit?
Right.
Right? If you cannot provide that information, then it is left now to the discretion of the officer as to what to do with the animals. Now, my worry and my concern is that if it is true that the animals were tested positive, then it's a given. No animal tested positive for any disease should be given entry into any country, whether it's novel disease or we already have the disease. But here, in the quarantines, in the quarantine arena, we have what we call disease of quarantine importance and disease of non-quarantine importance. So a disease of quarantine importance will be something, let's say, brucellosis, right? Now, I don't know of any known, I'm not a vet and I didn't do veterinary science, but from the limited training I have in, in animal treatment, brucellosis is not a disease that we have here in Grenada. So any animal tested positive for brucellosis or CE or one of them would be a no-no because we don't have that disease here. So that would be a novel disease and that would be a disease of quarantine importance. However, if the information that Dr. Carter put forward and the findings since 2016 stating that the disease that the animal is perceived to have is a disease that is already on island, then that disease become a disease of non-importance because we already have the disease. So the question is now, what percentage of animal would you allow into the country having a disease that is already present here? All right. So again, this, in my opinion, would call for a measure of discretion. And I'm saying that is if,
right there, Eugene, pick up in right there because I see Dr. Carter want to chime in here on this part.
No, I'm in agreement with what Nugent said. I just wanted to clarify that I did not produce the information. The scientific document was published by international recognized scientific journal, and the study was done by the St. George's University. So it was published, it is established. It's not my information. I just give people access or let people know that this information exists. Babesia was also documented in dogs here in Grenada in 1996 or something like that by the same university. So it's the science is out there. Just as we have our phones, everybody has a phone now. Everybody has a dictionary in their hand or an encyclopedia. You could look these things up. The science is out there that these have been documented and published in Grenada from being in Grenada. The other thing is that a lot of things that are not published and not public knowledge would have all gone to the ministry as well. So when you do some of this research, you get the results, you send the research to the Ministry of Agriculture. So the ministry did state that the disease is not in Grenada. I don't know how the chief vet could make such a statement, but maybe they're under the belief that it is not here. It has been documented here. It is established here. It's been that in 75% of the horses, to be exact, for at least 10 years now. So the quarantine aspect on the novelty, definitely not. Other diseases, it's funny that Eugene actually mentioned brucellosis, because although it's not published as yet, there is no talk that there may be brucellosis in dogs in Grenada. I have not seen it personally. I've not done the test, but that may be a publication coming out soon. But in livestock, for instance, brucellosis is a big thing in the cattle trade and the meat trade for live cattle. Grenada do not necessarily send animal out of the country. They more import purebred livestock, they import horses. But that doesn't mean you want to limit your availability or opportunity to send animals out in the future. A country like Barbados, for instance, they don't have Babesia there, and they said they export horses all over the world for racing. So maybe Grenada want to go back to the days of horse racing, so you're trying to protect it. But unfortunately, that disease exists here. The vector, the two types of the ticks, there are 4 different types of tick from 4 different family of tick that transmit Babesia. 2 of them are in Grenada. So we have the vector, we had it here, it is here. So then the horses were not bringing in a new thing. It is in the high percentage in the population. So I think leniency could have applied to that because it was a quarantine issue. It was a local issue. The recommendation by the World Health Organization for positive animals would be to treat and quarantine and then make a decision. I think making a decision in a 48-hour span, not even testing it. I thought the farmer, if I was the farmer, I would have asked for the test to be repeated here in Grenada to prove the animal is positive. They went with the burden of proof from where it came from. Test it, give it the treatment. The treatment is very simple. 2 injections, 24 hours apart, and you wait and see. So It wasn't like a treatment where you had to treat the animal every day for a year, you know? So the quarantine aspect, the farmer also stated that he was going to quarantine the animal on the side. If it's something, now mind you, I am fully for biosecurity. If it's something that is not in the country, definitely don't let it leave the port. The other thing a lot of people may not know, ideally, now as a veterinarian, part of import-export is also part of my portfolio. I've imported and exported hundreds of animals of multiple different species into Grenada, out of Grenada for clients, right?
Doctor, is it possible to turn on your light because it's getting dark where you are? Yeah,
not enough light.
I don't know if you have more. If you could get more light, it would be better.
I had to do it in the car for the noise because you're infringing on my son's time.
Okay. I understand and I appreciate your son giving us some time.
Other thing,
yes.
Let me see this there. Maybe that will work.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll try better lighting.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So the permit side of things, like as a veterinarian, one of the things you can examine the animal. For certain species, you have to do blood testing. Some species you do not require to do blood testing. We have a situation in the past where Lyme disease came in from the US, for instance. You could test for Lyme disease, but it's not a prerequisite to test for Lyme disease if you're bringing a dog into Grenada. The dog came in Grenada, it tested positive for Lyme disease. That should have been reportable, but there is actually let me slow down and speak. Another thing that the chief vet said was that if you don't report reportable diseases, there is no platform in place. There is no platform in place to report any disease to the ministry. No official platform. The only thing you can do, you can email them. Sometimes they don't respond for a month. Sometimes they do respond. You can call them. Sometimes they don't take your call. So it's a voluntary approach. You're not required to. There is no platform in place.
Well, they say that it's law. It's by law. You should report it.
Well, unless you show me the exact law, that's subject to belief. There is no. So that's like you telling somebody, report if mango fall on your house, but you have no way to come and tell them to tell you mango fall on the house. So how are you going to do that? So there is a law that exists without the capacity to make you comply with that law.
Right. Okay, let's go back a bit because it's important, guys. Again, you're watching Right Along Live and we're having this discussion. Good light? Yeah, no, we have proper light there. I want to go back and play this excerpt from the Chief Veterinarian Officer once again, because you're saying that the information is contradictory to your current knowledge, right? So let's I could play that back again. It's important that we take it for context purposes. So
members of the media,
right,
the listening public, my colleagues, members of the Ministry of Agriculture, pleasant good morning. So I would like to just expound a bit on what P.S. Javon would have just alluded to. On the 29th of May, the Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, through the Veterinary and Livestock Division, wishes to inform the public of a recent serious national biosecurity breach incident involving the smuggling of 2 horses from St. Lucia into Grenada.
Right. So the fact that he used smuggling there, right, could that be because, for one, the shipment didn't have an import permit, neither an export permit?
I think they simply use smuggling to protect themselves legally.
Well, okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked with a client before where you import or you send or you ship a pet, whether it's whatever it is, a ship or whatever? You say you do a lot of these stuff without an import and an export permit?
What I would give you an example. I'm not going to implicate myself, but I'll give you an example. I've had many clients who came in here via sea. Many clients came in via sea, sometimes when you're leaving, you get a document from the vet where you live in. Let me say you're leaving Curacao. Takes just about a week to get to Grenada. You send the email to the ministry, you send your documentation, they land in Grenada, they did not get a response. They're already here, they left the other country. I've had that happen over the years. I've been working as a vet in Grenada for 12 years, and I've had that happen many times. They got here, they contacted the ministry and say, okay, we've landed in Grenada, we have a dog on board, we did not get a response on the permit. Then the ministry would set stipulations to say, okay, this is what you do, or you get a veterinarian to come and check the animal, etc., etc. So I've experienced that multiple times. I've never experienced anyone moving livestock without a document or at least some level of verbal assurance, because sometimes you get verbal assurances from the ministry.
But how
would
do
not
you do verbal
make any
assurance,
decision
doctor?
on a verbal assurance.
Yeah, how
I
do
would
you?
not advise anyone. Pardon?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do you operate on a verbal assurance? No, this
So
is just
I would not, but I've
right.
known people who got verbal assurance.
Right. Okay. We have Nugent back with us. Nugent, yeah, you back with us. Go ahead, Nugent.
Yeah, regarding verbal assurance, well, I don't know how this works, but I know my personal experience. Again, it depends on the quarantine officer and the discretion of the officer at the moment. I remember one night I was working at the airport and there was an animal coming either from the US or somewhere that came to Trinidad, and Trinidad did not want to keep the animal on the airport. And they wanted to send the animal. That was the last flight. I think that was a late flight, and wanted to send the animal to Grenada. And I was the officer then, and I said to them, the person that spoke to me, I said to them, if the animal is not good to keep in Trinidad, it cannot be good to keep in Grenada as well. Right? And because I do not take this quarantine thing lightly. I mean, this thing is not a political issue. Quarantine is about disease that affect lives, both human and animal. And in case where it affect both human and animal, where it is zoonotic, we're talking about serious economic losses, nothing that we could have. Sometimes the whole industry based on the disease can be wiped out in the twinkling of an eye. So I think that is something I would take extremely serious. So on the idea of making a verbal arrangement without seeing laboratory tests and results, to me that just doesn't sound. In countries like Australia and other countries that are very strict on quarantine, them thing and them can't even enter. It can't even enter.
Doc, you were saying?
I have a rebuttal to Eugene's statement. No, just for clarification, Grenada import requirement is not the same as the surrounding islands. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Trinidad, that's our 3 direct surrounding animals. In order to import a dog into these countries, you have to do a rabies blood titer test. But rabies is endemic in Grenada. So Grenada, you do not have to do a blood test on your dog to enter to Grenada. You have to make sure your dog has the name, the breed. There are 5 breeds that's prohibited. You need to have the sex, the age of the animal, a description of the animal. We do not even require microchip. Most of the other islands require microchip. The US only started requiring microchip in 2024.
Okay.
Then you send that you have to have proof of vaccination, which includes a rabies vaccination and the common, maybe DHPP, that's the parvovirus, etc. Then you send that document to the ministry. They would then either issue a physical copy or they send a copy online of that document. That's an import permit. As long as you've met that requirement. You also need to say the port of entry. Sometimes they ask you what airline it's going in or coming with. Sometimes, not all the time. And what is, so it's by airline MBIA on a Liat 786 to Antigua, for instance. Based on which country it's going to, you may need also an import permit from the other country. Based on where it's going, you don't need that. Actually, if you're going to the US and a lot of other countries, you don't even need an official export document from the ministry. Any licensed veterinarian could do the documentation and send the animal forward. Based on other countries, you have to send that document to the ministry. The ministry then has to officiate it and give you an official export permit. That's to go somewhere like Trinidad, Barbados, the UK, and the EU. They all have that requirement. So different countries would have different requirements based on what disease is present in Grenada. In Grenada, you do not have to do a blood test to bring a dog into Grenada. However, you may have to do a blood test to bring a cattle or a horse. I would suggest you do fecal exams and all right now in the world, there's a big antimicrobial resistance problem where the medication that you're using in sheep, goat, cattle is not working to fix the parasite in there. Now, a lot of animals come into the country. A lot of animals came into the country recently with multi-drug resistant parasites. That is a more economic strain for the island. That is a biosecurity thing. We're not doing that there. I think in such a small niche thing as the guy with the horses, with something that is already here, we try to put the foot down on him, put the hammer down on him for the biosecurity side of things, when it's a very small population that is already impacted by that thing. Whereas in another case where we have hundreds, one time there was hundreds of cattle coming in on the port, they were covered in ticks. Covered, they were allowed to enter the country. There was, throughout the year, clients who bring in multiple sheep and goat from the US. You go and see them, you do a fecal exam on them, they have more parasites than the animals here that has not been treated, and then the parasite do not respond to treatment.
But that's
So
not
if
good.
biosecurity
But
is the
good.
method,
But that's
pardon?
not good. That's not good.
No,
Well,
but I would
think,
contend that the approach as to how we would treat a disease like, let's say, brucellosis or CAE, or would be different than drug resistant. All right, because as Dr. Carter was pointing out, yes, the animals would have been proven to be drug resistant, but it does not necessarily mean that we cannot find the drugs, because one has to understand that when it comes for American small animals, as opposed to America with cattle and pigs, right? It's a different ball game. I mean, cattle and pigs is what drives America livestock. That's big thing for them. However, sheep and goat, which is small ruminants, it's not a big thing for them. But they do have quality animals that they could import. So the onus is on us as the receiving country to ensure that we protect what we have and we do not bring in novel disease. But my information is the animal was tested to be drug resistant, but the drug is available in Australia. So if the ministry gets hand on the drugs, then it means that the animal could be treated. It's just that the FDA did not recommend that particular drug, as I was informed by the professor, right? So it has to be outside of the US, right? But I'm seeing this as different to a tick-borne disease or whatever it is. So my thing about it is, if we have the disease in Grenada, and I'm taking him strictly from quarantine, it would be a disease of non-quarantine importance that some discretion can be used as to how we handle. If what the ministry is claiming is true, that the disease is not prevalent in Grenada, then it means, therefore, that all the strictest prevention and action must be taken as to not to introduce a novel disease into Grenada.
I agree with you on that. Also, I was not mentioning I try to stay away from the animals the government brought in. I was only talking about the animals my clients brought in with the resistance thing. And we did have a publication recently that showed the prevalence. We tested 700 plus animals, showed Grenada, Carrico, PT, Matnik. Every farm, every sheep and goat had at least 2 different types of parasite. We did a follow-up as well with what was resistant, what was working or not. Most of this has been published. Most of this is also normal knowledge of the government. So the part with the sheep and goat, I'm talking about my clients who brought in animals from the US and lost their investment because it came in with parasites that there were not medication here to treat. The animals died before any treatment could have worked on them. And I have multiple people who experienced that. I saw some. Can I respond to one of the comments?
Sure.
No, again, I saw people from the comments. I'm liking this comment. I think it's really sad that this happened now. Because we're in an election year, and every time something happens in an election year, you're going to have a lot of public uproar. You're going to have some discourse, and then we forget about it. I think this should be used as a framework to set an example as to what we do in the future. How do we protect our, I won't use sovereignty, but our space?
Right.
Because we could use this and make it into a positive thing.
Right.
So far, it's a lot of negative. It's been pushed between politics. Ironically, when I speak of something, when the last government was in power, I was claimed to be a supporter of this government. Now I talk about something, now I claim to be a supporter of the last government. I do not have any political affiliation.
Right.
As a veterinarian, it is my duty to speak on certain issues.
Right.
So this thing there, I spoke of it from a veterinary's point of view to explain Babesia to people. Someone in the comment then said that we have the brown dog tick. That's the Dormer center tick. It is a carrier of the Babesia. and the horse is going to give it to the cattle. But the babesia in question do not go from horses and the horse's family to cattle or other livestock. It is specific to equines, so the horse cannot give it to the cattle. There may be research in the past that show that there were babesia in cattle in Grenada. I'm not going to be the one to present that. I think it's the duty of the Ministry of Agriculture to let us know what are the diseases we have here, what is the avenue we should use to report these diseases, and how do we see. We talk of tick-borne blood infections. Now, I do test. Down to yesterday, I did a blood test. It's a common place to test for heartworms, Ehrlichia, and a plasma Lyme disease. It's a test I've done every year for the last 12 years. Now, my reports could tell you which part of the island. We do detailed discharge documents. We do detailed farm records for every farm animal we've treated in Grenada, every location. We have all the treatments they were given for 12 years. Now, I went to the ministry in the past. In 2016, there was a leptospirosis outbreak that was mapping across the island. I went to the chief vet at the time, a different chief vet. They did nothing about it. In 2017, people were dying from leptospirosis in Grenada. In 2018, there was a rabies outbreak again. You went to a map. So we are on the ground. If you look at the social media from the ministry as well, you would see we have been collaborating, whether directly or indirectly, with the Ministry of Agriculture, with the Livestock Division over the years. So it's people you work with on a frequent basis. That doesn't mean that when you see something, you should not speak about it.
Right. No,
that is exactly why you should speak about it.
I think that's what we're doing here. But let me ask you this question there,
Yes, please.
Eugene, right? You worked at the port of entry, both at the Maurice Bishop International Airport and other ports of entry here in Grenada. I know this decision is not your decision alone to make, right? But had it been you in that position to make a call or to advance or to make a decision on this particular situation here, working at the port of entry, what would have been your position or your decision?
Okay, so my position would have been if the farmer could not present me with any documentation in terms of a health certificate and a permit for entry.
We love to see your forehead, but we want to see your face. And a lot of
If the farmer could not have presented me with a health certificate and a permit for entry, then for me, that would be a no-no. No, as to how I treat with a big animal like a horse would have been a challenge, because, I mean, a dog is a challenge much less a horse, right? Because we do not have any established quarantine facility that could keep these animals. And those are issues that have been long pointed out years ago, right? And still no real action has been taken. Not only do we not have established quarantine facilities, but even within the facilities, when you detain an animal, for want of a better word, the onus is on you to ensure the welfare and the well-being of the animal. How you get food, how you get water, etc. Right? So that is why the option would be, as offered, the guy offered himself to quarantine the animal, on his facility, or if they could have found any other facility, that could quarantine the animal. But for me, if it's a decision where the law gives me the permission to act, because here again, we have to come into it. In some cases, I know when we have, again, I'm not too au fait with the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I heard of incidents most times when people have issue with compromising food place and whatnot, disease concern. The matter usually be taken to court, and the court makes that decision, right? Now, as to how the law speaks with a quarantine officer exercising that power, no, it's different than the chief veterinary officer, right? A quarantine officer exercising that power. I don't show as quarantine officer, they have that kind of teeth to act, to euthanize, and to get rid of here in Grenada.
That decision was the decision of the chief veterinary.
So then I may have to call, so I would have to now call my superior and say, well, look, we have an animal here. There is no permit, there is no health certificate, and how do we treat, right? But again, and next thing that needs to be considered, and again, I'm saying discretion. If an animal came in here illegally, maybe the first instinct, well, it's illegal, and we deal with the law, we put it down. And that is if it's a disease that put at risk the entire livestock, industry. But if it's a disease of non-quarantine importance, then, and I'm saying non-quarantine importance, it's a disease that we have here, right? Then, again, I'm saying maybe some discretion can be used if treatment is available treat and see how it responds to the treatment. 14 to 21 days, that disease must pop up. And if it doesn't pop up, then you make the decision to euthanize, right? So this thing, again, I'm going on the information that was provided by the ministry. If the ministry is saying that the information given is that the animal possess that disease that we don't have in Grenada, then for me, at the point of entry at this time, I would have agreed with the ministry decision. All right? But if that information is wanting, then it means that we should have used some discretionary, some form of discretion as to how we navigate, right, to get this animal at the best position without having to euthanize.
Okay, we got a call.
But even before, I just want to clear. Yes, I just want to clarify something again that Dr. Carter spoke earlier on when he talked about animal resistance. I don't want you to be given well, I don't know if I did, but I don't want to be given the impression that specifically referring to animals brought into from the States have resistance. What I'm saying is, as far as I'm aware,
right,
because small ruminant production is not a big thing for America, all right, they would not be so concerned as to what level of infection they have in any particular disease for that matter, right? Because it's not an interest of theirs. The onus would be on us, right?
Right.
But it is well known that most small ruminants that come from the States, because there is indiscriminate use of drugs in America when it comes for small ruminants and not properly used, right? Most animals from small ruminant animal that is from the States would have a challenge with drug resistance, right? And that is an issue that has to be addressed.
We have a caller on the line. Been waiting for quite a bit. Let me see if I can pull this caller in. Caller, you're live. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Grenada.
Grenada, go right ahead.
First, to the doctor.
Yes, he's hearing you.
Doc, would you bring any animal without a paper from any other country to Grenada, legal paper? And I'm sure you would say, no, you wouldn't do that. So this is something that went wrong from start.
But I said that.
Whether the horse he have a disease or not, it is an illegal something like drugs. It's illegal. You didn't get a paper. I don't see no way we had to be discussing, but thank God we do. Because no way you had a paper stating it is okay to come in a next country with the horses. You didn't get no permission from Grenada, but you took it on your own and come to Grenada with the horses. They said to you, leave it there. No, you're being stubborn, you want your own way. They're still saying it is not pregnant. So that means no. You are lying to custom. You are lying to the law. So this is a next charge. So then why do we have to discuss something when someone take their own risk to bring in something illegal into the country? I would like for the doctor to answer that for me, please. Thanks.
Yes, go right ahead.
I love this question. I don't know who that person is, but I think I know who that person is. No, thanks for your question, first of all, because you allow me now to bring up something that I did not bring up as yet. The farmer also stated that he sent all his documentation to the ministry ahead. The animals initially tested negative. He waited and waited, did not get the response from them. So, as a veterinarian, again, I would advise anyone, if you're going to be moving animals, make sure you have proper documentation. If you're going to buy an animal from somebody, make sure you have a proper documentation. Don't even buy an animal from somebody without the document stating it was checked by a certified veterinarian, etc., to be in good health. Put that, needless that, let me answer you. I would not recommend anybody to bring the animal or move the animal without the proper documentation. I have also experienced time when we had animals coming in and people had to cancel their flights. Some people had to leave their dogs. I had one client who's coming back from America with her dog from right in Vincennes. She had to leave the dog in America because although this was a Grenadian dog coming back to Grenada, we sent in all the documents. He had every required document. You send it to the ministry. There was no response. You call them, They give you something, they tell you in a few days, and the airline came. The dog could not come to Grenada because over a period of 2 weeks, sometimes they tell you 2 weeks. The international requirement for any veterinary document would be within 14 days. Most of the airlines tell you have to have a veterinary certificate in 10 days because they want to give themselves, in case the flight delay, you have a few more days, right? So the only thing we can do, and based on my communication with the farmer, now again, the farmer is not my client. I was not involved in this until after the animals were euthanized and somebody tagged me in it. So I reached out to everybody. I tried to reach the chief vet. I don't think he take my calls anymore, but I did reach out to the client, and he did say, the guy did say that he sent in his documentation to the ministry. So the only thing you can do as a farmer or a veterinarian, you can send your documentation to the right people and wait for them to give you back. Not every time that would come back within a reasonable time, but there's nothing you can do. I would advise anyone, if you're trying to import an animal, make sure you have the proper documentation. Now, the first thing I said, I don't know if anybody could remember. I wish I had the video to show you. One, I think all party was complacent. 3 parties. I think there's no how this animal should have left St. Lucia. If it left St. Lucia, some guarantees were given. If the farmer had to have some guarantee to move this animal, I don't think the man would just do all of that on the own. And then the ministry could have used, yes, they were legally sound in their decision. Now, if you look at the release they gave, it's definitely a lawyer wrote that. That was definitely legally written to protect the ministry, to prove they were legally within bounds to destroy the animals. Now, could leniency have been applied? I think it could. That's what my argument was. Leniency could have been applied because it have been applied multiple times in the past. There is no international law stating you have to destroy this animal. They did refer to international recommendations, yes. And as Eugene said earlier, in a situation where you're bringing in a new disease to the country, destroy it at the port. But in such a large animal as a horse, now horses can live sometimes 40 years. A horse can live 40 years. You know, it takes a lot. Besides the cost of a horse, such a large animal as a horse, to make a decision within such a short period to terminate this horse, I think some leniency could have been done. That's what I think.
And Junior, just let me chime in here a bit.
Yes.
To the question what the caller asked. I think I would lean to the side of the ministry. Not that I'm a part of the ministry and I'm taking for the ministry. My position is, if a permit is required for entry, if the permit takes 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, yes, you'll be frustrated. You make an application and you get a permit. That does not give the animal person who is importing any right to bring in the animal. He has to wait on the permit, right? So the caller question is, the answer is, in my opinion, the guy should have never brought in the animal. If he had to cancel the flight or your arrangement, cancel it. And not just that, if the information is correct, that 2 days before the animal left, it was deemed positive, then of course it was all more the better that they hold back the animal. You should not import a diseased animal, and you should never import an animal without the necessary permit.
I agree with the permit thing. Again, I agree that the farmer should not have imported the animal without the permit. There's lots of conflicting information on the matter. The other thing, the official policy of the Ministry of Agriculture is that you need to send in that request within 2 weeks, and you would get a response within 2 weeks. That's the official policy. On the ground, does not usually replicate the official policy. I do not think it is reasonable to wait 2 months to get a permit to bring an animal into the country if the animal has met all the requirements. That is unreasonable. That is unreasonable.
I think the broader question here is, the permit was not given. There is no import, there was no export, right? And I go back to this when they speak of smuggling. If there is no import and there is no export, and the animal is said to be a diseased animal, what are we doing? Like are we saying that it's fine, let's accept the animal? There is no documentation to show the horse could have these illness that is on document. But do we know if he have anything else? Do we know if there are other things that would affect humans or other livestock? We don't know because there's no documentation.
How do we know that, sir?
Well,
there is a standard veterinary protocol to find diagnosis. You take a fecal sample, you take a blood sample, etc. No, I'm not saying again the farmer is right or the ministry is right or nothing like that, but there are ways to know these things. Additionally, the ministry did mention that they had a documentation sent to them from St. Lucia, because they said multiple times that on that document the animal tested positive and it was not pregnant. That's what they said.
Right.
So they had a document. So there is a document that exists. I have not seen the document. Have you seen the document? I don't know. But based on what the ministry said, they would have received some level of a document from St. Lucia. No, that's what we know from what they say. I've not seen any document. Again, I've not seen any input. I've not seen any communication. The farmer said he communicated with the ministry over a period of a month. I did ask him if he did he record this communication? I did not see anything, so I don't know. It's hearsay from me. I think that the government did, in their statement, cover the legal basis. Also, the other thing people were talking about was whether shooting the horse was humane or not. Shooting the horse was humane. I think I've said that multiple times now.
Yes.
I also stated that I was not involved in this. Is not my client. And usually, actually, some people say I was talking about this so I can get more business. But the truth is, whenever I talk about these matters, I lose more clients than I gain. So every time I speak about a trending matter, which happens whether the sheep and goat, whether it was the SPCA, whatever they was doing, I normally lose clients, right? But it's okay, because somebody has to be the voice.
Hopefully that doesn't happen here. We got a call.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
We got a caller on the line.
I like the callers.
Caller, where are you calling us from?
Hey, Junior. Yes, good evening. I am calling from Florida.
Florida, go right ahead.
Now, as the person said, the doctor was saying and everything, if you have to get a permit to bring anything, whether it be animals, fruits, and vegetables, and some things that some people, this is a simple comparison. When you enter a country with anything and you are in a customs bonded area, that item does not belong to you until it is cleared.
Right.
So it's simple. You bring apple into the country and you don't have a permit to bring the fruits, and you decide you're going to bite all the apples because you tell yourself that the customs officer may take the apple and give it to the family. By law, you can be charged because you are defacing government property. You bring it, but it's not yours because you're in a bonded area.
Right.
So if you don't have a permit, whether the permit took 1 day, 2 days, it doesn't matter. If you don't have the permit, you come like you smuggle. Yes, it may have been an animal where everybody's seen, but there is no difference from somebody bringing an animal without a permit and somebody bringing narcotics illegally. It's the same thing. Illegal is illegal. Just like they say, little sin and big sin, all is sin, is the same thing. You don't have a permit, you're wrong. Straight off the bat. It's as simple as that.
Can we maintain life for life part of things? I think what people are trying to do now is they're taking a live animal like a horse and they're starting to compare it now to thing like produce. You can't compare. Your best analogy to do would compare a lot of illegal immigrants, a lot of Grenadians who went into the US by less than legal means. Would they have liked if their family member have been lined up and shot for entering the US without a visa or something? Now we clip life to life. It's not the same, but even if you use a dog now, I don't mind the example with the horse and the dog. But don't compare the horse to an apple, man. Oh gosh. Although yes, it's a permit.
No. Okay.
Don't compare the horse to an apple. That'd be too far.
You cannot. Then you know cannot compare shooting the person, because you remember, even though the individual may have entered the US illegally, the person don't have a disease. The reason why the animal was shot because the animal have a disease. So that can't be the same analogy. What will happen to that person if they enter
illegality?
What will happen to that person if they enter illegally, right? If the person enter illegally, they'll be deported. So that is
actually
the illegal entry.
The legality of the entry is why they said it terminated the animal. The fact that it had a disease was a plus, but they stressed multiple times on the legality of the entry. They also stated it had a disease, but if you check at least 10 of the lines, if there are 10 lines, 6 expunge and pronounce the legality of the entry.
And also the fact that it's a novel disease in the island. They did stress on that.
But that was not accurate, so I would not try to further the narrative that is not accurate, because it's scientifically proven and it's out there.
Okay. Caller on the phone line. Thank you. We have a caller on the WhatsApp. Call on the WhatsApp.
All right, Junior.
Call on the WhatsApp. Could you hear me? All right. Call on the WhatsApp. Call on the WhatsApp. Could you hear me? Let me see if I can get a call on the WhatsApp on the speaker. Call on the WhatsApp. Could you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Go right ahead, caller.
All right. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this would have been covered at the start of the program because I joined a little late. But I just wanted to get some information specifically on equine babies. I can't remember the exact pronunciation.
Babesia, don't worry.
Research
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
I did some research when the gentleman had first spoken on the program with Giovanni, and in doing that research, it appears as if that specific type of babesia is not.
So I just want to know that really is the case, right? Because it seems as something that can remain latent in the horse. So the horse itself did, and it wouldn't get sick, it wouldn't die, but the horse that appears to be fine can still pass the disease on if it bites it, and it can then spread it to another horse. So I just wanted more information on that specifically.
Okay, thank you, caller.
Can I answer that?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Let me try to give you a quick summary. We mentioned that multiple times, but yes, that is a good question. It's equine paraplasmosis caused by Tularemia equi and Babesia cabale. Okay, that's the scientific part. It's okay if you don't know the scientific pronunciation, but they use the term babesiosis. It's caused by a tick. Yes, a tick has to bite. The specific host tick has to bite an infected animal. The tick can transmit it through its offspring, and then that infected animal has to bite another animal. The thing with it is that in some places it is known to be resistant to treatment. There is a standard treatment. If it is resistant, it may stay latent in the blood for the rest of the animal life. And only if you remember, I say horses could live about 40 years, So if it's not in your country, you would not want it there. If it is in your country and it is in the majority of your horses, then it's kind of already here. The other thing is that in Babesia, there's Babesia in dogs as well. Now, how Babesia works, it kills the red blood cell. It actually lives. It's really cool to look at it under the microscope. It lives inside a red blood cell. It destroys it. It normally causes anemia. So one of the things it causes anemia, and other signs that goes along with anemia. So a lot of animals with Babesia, if you don't see ticks on them or you did not do the blood test, you would not know they are positive with Babesia. That's the same for Ehrlichia in dogs in Grenada here, Anaplasma, Lyme disease sometimes. Some of these you only know if something happens. They what they call latent or subclinical, and then some things happen and boom, it gets sick. So it is something that could exist in the blood and you don't know it's there. The animal would present itself as healthy because if you look, you don't have to be a vet to know those animals looked pretty healthy and it has it in the blood. So the answer to the caller is yes, it could exist in the blood for the rest of its life, but you only know that after you have tried the treatment. So the protocol would be to try to treat the recommended treatment. You then test the blood again within a stipulated period. And if it's still there, you rule it out as it's latent.
Right. Okay. We got another caller on the phone line on the WhatsApp. Caller, go right ahead. Hello? Hold on. Let me see if I can get a caller on the speaker. Caller, you live? Hello?
Yeah, good evening, Junior, and good evening to your panel.
Yes.
I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, are you hearing me? Okay, go. Let me put you on speaker. Hello? Go ahead. Let me put you on speakerphone. So go ahead.
Right. Junior, I feel very good. Even if I'm listening to your program, my mind goes back to the congories that were brought here when the officials from the Ministry of Agriculture warn the former government and say, hey, do not go down this route. I mean, with all what this particular veterinarian is saying there, and it seems as though he has axed the grind, and his green alone is tricky green, kind of turns me off, because it seems as though he wanted something from the Ministry of Agriculture and didn't get it. I don't know if it was some concession and he didn't get it, or some kind of issue that he not explaining. But I feel comfortable that the Ministry of Agriculture did the right thing in the best interest of Grenada. And Paul, I think it's Graham, he will be very happy to see what this Ministry of Agriculture did in this particular case. Because I can recall, brother, when they told the Ministry of Agriculture, told the people who were bringing in the soil or whatever, do not bring it in. This thing has what we cannot detect right now. And right now in Grenada, people are suffering from these off-looking congories, red-looking congories. So Grenadians, you should feel proud, you should feel happy that we have competent people in the Ministry of Agriculture. They're doing a fantastic job safeguarding the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. Good evening, Junior.
All right, thank you so much there, Kim Jones, fellow.
I like that man, boy. I like that man. You don't like me smile, but I like him. The Congori thing. You know that the entire Eastern Caribbean is suffering from that Congori issue. I ain't taking part in the political side with which administration versus which administration, but that Congori was an interesting one, because I think some people went against recommendations. But ironically, the more the Congori spread, the most. If you mash that Congori, like we say in St. Lucia, because we print St. Lucia already, and you come in Grenada, you could actually transmit it below your shoes too. But that's not how it was introduced. It's well documented how the Congoris were introduced to the country. As for the accusation that I wanted something from the ministry, I think it's safe to say that at best the relationship with me and the ministry would be equal. Or if there is a deficit, I would be on the end of the deficit, which means they would have benefited more from my expertise than I would have benefited from them. I have a very good working relationship with the ministry. You can look at the social media for the Ministry of Agriculture, whether it's community outreach, whether it's burial, we went to Carriacou, regardless the capacity, whether it's predator control and rabies with mongoose, you would see me well over the Ministry of Agriculture. So for the caller, I can't help you with the smile because I like to smile, but the ministry do not owe me anything. I've been working in Grenada for 12 years. I've had no support from the ministry from the first 6 years. I think in COVID time, they used to give concessions for real for a little while. And then that stopped, I think, since 2024 or something. So I did well without it before, we did well without it after. If the ministry gives me concession, it's also replicated to the people, because anybody can come in here and attest. We do loads of community outreach, including treatment for ticks and parasites throughout the country and livestock. So it's something that we do. We have snips and jabs, where we go into the communities. We're well into the Grenada community, so it's okay. I think the people of Grenada have embraced me, and I've done my best over the years to be as professional as possible and bring competent veterinary care to them. So thank you, caller. I will try with this smile, but I love this smile, so I cannot stop this smile.
All right, we got another caller on the line there. Caller, your live, where you calling us from? Caller, go right ahead. Caller, go right ahead. You're live.
Junior, and good evening to the panel. I did hear a reference was made in regard if persons were brought into the U.S. if they should be shot. Now the law does allow
No.
U.S. illegally that touches the soil, then the person has a right to be able to fight for living status in the U.S. Now, animals is different, and that's if an animal is brought in without any form and it's brought in illegal, then that animal can test it and they can go ahead and do certain animal. Now, if that, then there's a difference between and a person, and the two should not be taken into account as if whether one or the other family member enter illegal, then they should be shot.
That's not what that's
That's a very, very far disparity.
By all parties involved. Even
Sorry.
the man who said that he didn't receive the permit. he also said that he received permits to exit. And that's to my what I may have deduced or heard from whatever he would have said. In that instance, if he did not receive any permits to enter or to bring them along, then he had no right to do so. And in fact, then by all means, ministry did what was in their best interest. We feel that he was advised not to bring them in the ministry. He still then went ahead and do such. I think that whatever he did was in tandem with his actions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, caller. Thank you so much, DS.
Junior.
Yeah, go ahead,
Please.
Eugene.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment with the caller before. I think the question of precedence is important, especially when it comes to matters of quarantine and whether it's plant health or animal health. Right? Now, because the introduction of a novel disease has so much far-reaching effect on your food security, and on the economy, I think one has to be very careful as to what precedent we set. Now, there are regulations, there are procedures to be followed. And I think persons in authority must ask themselves the question, in the execution of my duty, who it is that comes first? What is more important? My friend's interest?
I'm not sure if we lost Eugene there.
The link.
We got
so whether it's my interest, my friend's interest, and or my, or the countries or the interest of the country, because what has happened over the years, we have seen, as in the case of the Graham issue and the red Congo, we have seen political interference. Now, if you have officers assigned in whatever ministry, and you believe that these officers, they are competent, they are technically sound, then I think you being a politician or you being an administrator, unless you have the technical training and you could make a decision to counter the decision or the advice given by the technician, then so be it. But you find in most cases that you have technicians that you are paid to advise you as technicians, and when they make decision, in the case of politicians, they look for political solutions rather than looking at what would happen way down the road. Right? So the point I'm making is that when we set a precedent today, just bear in mind, if I give you a favor, you would go and tell your friend, well, man, this man give me a favor, So I break the rule to suit you. And then the next week, somebody else come and expect me to break the rule for that friend. And when I don't do it, then we get a whole set of problems coming up. Because I can remember the guy saying that he brought in horses with the same disease before.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? And that should have never been.
I was about to bring that up because I spoke about it.
You see, so a precedent was set. And this, right?
I want to play that piece because that is a very, very important point there.
But they were tested positive for tick-borne disease. I mean, a tick bite it, and when they test the blood, they realize the tick bite the horse. But it's an easily treated infection. You could just give the horse an injection, and within 2 to 3 weeks, that clear off the system, because all the horses that ever imported to Grenada, they were positive for the same disease from a tick. And they were all treated and cleared easily. But the government of Grenada refused to help me to treat my animals. And they had them suffering in this cage, in this sport, whole day. And the vets from Grenada government just called me and tell me they made a decision to kill my horses. They refused to even try to treat the horses, and it's easy to treat this disease, And these are the people that went to school and study about animals and say they care about animals, and they're working in the ministry and collecting taxpayers' money as payment every month, and they refuse to help these poor animals. Look at how beautiful this animal is, and these men trying to kill them. Just imagine that. Dr. Kimon Cummins and another one called St. Bernard in the ministry, together with the permanent secretary. All of them sit down and make this decision, when they could have just sit down and make a positive decision, quarantine the animals and treat them and help the animals. Instead, they want to kill them. I spent all the money I had, I saved up for years to purchase these horses. It was very expensive, and the government of Grenada don't even care. All they're thinking about is kill. They want to kill my horses.
Did he make a better case for himself there, or he made a worse case for himself with this video?
I think it's the
Hold
worst
on.
case.
Let me use
one.
some wordplay. Let me use some
What-
wordplay. Hold on, you gent. The man never said that he brought in animals positive when he brought them in. He said all the horses he had before was positive for this disease and they were treated and cleared. He never said if they caught the disease before they come to Grenada and they were cleared, or he didn't say after they come to Grenada. You can't use the man words against him without using his exact words. Listen to this. It's actually sad listening to the man because you could hear the emotion in his voice. Okay? Yeah. Now, if you add that to the fact that horses in Grenada, there's only 5 or 6 people with horses in Grenada. It's not a common thing. Okay? The university have some, one of the lawyers have one, Bonanza have one. There were some people in the mountain by Clabone who had one. Amistad's table have. There's 2 different people in Carrick with horses. And every now and then there's an odd person with 1 horse. It's not like you have to go 10 different places to find horses in Grenada. So if a study was done on horses in Grenada for that disease, it would not be a hard thing to assume that his horses were tested as well. They actually said the locations where they tested in the study. So it may have been his horses that was tested in the past for the same study who said that this disease existed in Grenada. But he did not say that when he was importing the horses, they were positive for that disease. You can't use the man words without using his actual words.
Eugene?
Okay. So given that, I think we'll agree. In my opinion, he's trying to trivialize the situation. And clearly, I believe he's talking from a point of ignorance. If you know the importance of introduction of a novel disease and the damage it can cause, it's not just that simple. It's not just that simple.
It's not novel.
All right, so we have a caller on the line. Let's jump to a caller quick on the line. Caller, you're live. Where are you calling us from? Go right ahead.
In my opinion,
Caller, listen to me on the phone line. Turn your background TV or whatever you're listening on. Turn it down so that you can hear us. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, good night, Dad.
So I have a question, right? And that's for education purpose. So there was no permit for export and import. The question I have is, and I don't know. The question I have is, how did the animal leave St. Lucia if the relevant did not give a permit for the animal to leave? How did the animal get off the island without the relevant authorities and stopping that from happening? That's question number 1. Question number 2, now considering everything that happened, reached Grenada, and there was no import or export permit given, how is it there was no disease in the animal? How would the situation would have been handled? That's and again, it's a by way of education. Yes. If there was no disease in the animal and the gentleman brought the animal into the country, the same process, no permit, what have you, how would they have handled the situation? That's my question.
All right, thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much for having you.
I can say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me try to answer this caller here. Now, again, I cannot speak in the authority of the ministry. None of us here are actually currently employed by the ministry, but I think this question would have been given. Let me hope. The claim was that it was a novel disease, but they did emphasize on the illegality of it. So I think maybe it might have happened with the same outcome. Because if they were justified to do it now, they would have also been justified to do it, even if the animal was not sick. Additionally to that, not all islands require an export certificate for all animals. I think for livestock, everybody does. And the question would be, How did these animals leave St. Lucia? Remember I said in the beginning, you have 3 people that are complacent in the whole matter, right? It had to be the St. Lucia Authority, had to be the Grenada Authority, and the farmer. But this story seemed to have 4 sides. And the farmer did say when I spoke to him that he got assurances that caused it to leave St. Lucia. Now, these horses, anybody saw the horses, they were well packed on a vessel in a crate. These horses had to leave through the official port. I've been on the port in St. Lucia multiple times when you take the route to Dominica via vessel. It's a big official port. You cannot sneak a horse into the port or a crate. And it had to be loaded officially. So how did these horses leave St. Lucia to come to Grenada if assurances wasn't given? That's a good question. I hope maybe the St. Lucia Authority would give some level of a publication on the matter. Ironically, I knew the horses came from St. Lucia when I made my initial video, but I tried my best not to say what island it came from. And then everybody said St. Lucia, so I had to jump on board and say St. Lucia as well. I did not want to disclose which island it came from, but it did come from St. Lucia.
Right.
And maybe they should give a statement next.
Well, assurance is true. And that's something that we're looking into at Ride Along Live. We're going to be speaking with the St. Lucian authorities to find out how was that possible. Hence the reason why I'm sort of trying to figure out, is that why the authorities are honing in on the smuggling aspect of it? Because they're strong on these animals were smuggled. Were they sent out with incorrect document? I mean, you cannot leave a port with assurance. You can't say, oh, well, they told me in Grenada that this is going to be the case. You can't operate like that. Even if you're shipping, when I had to ship a tuk-tuk from China, I need export document that the people actually have the legitimate paperwork to ship the document. So it's not only livestock. So I don't see assurance working. I don't know how it was able to leave St. Lucia.
You should, while you're reaching to St. Lucia, see if you get the manifest as well to see if the horses won the manifest.
Yeah, well, all of that stuff we're going to be looking into, and I promise you guys from next week we're going to be having a program with the authorities there in St. Lucia to give us some clarification on this. Yeah, it's very, very important. 718-701-5720 is our number. We'll take a time. Yeah, Eugene, go right ahead.
The latter part of the guy question. Hello?
Yes. Yeah, we're hearing you.
Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you, Eugene.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you. Nobody gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Eugene having a little bit of a audio.
How we could have treated. Yeah. The latter part of the question as to, you hear me still?
I'm hearing you, but it was kind of coming in and out, so it wasn't too clear.
Yeah, what I'm saying, even from a quarantine standpoint, it's a different perspective if you know knowingly that an animal is diseased than if you know an animal is not diseased.
Right.
So maybe if the animal was not diseased, then the authorities that may have been inclined to see if they could put up some temporary quarantine facility, right, to keep that animal in an isolated situation, treat it, and see what happened within the next 14 to 21 days, right? But because the claim is that the animal was diseased, and it's a disease that threatens our national food security, then hence the reason why they had to make the decision that they make, right? But again, Dr. Carter is saying his claim is that the disease is not novel. I cannot prove that. I'm only going with the information, but this is how I
the information
think it would have been treated if it was a disease or not.
Right.
Eugene, do you need me to send you the link to the publication?
Yeah, I send me the link as well because
I thought I sent it for you. That is not my information. That information is commonplace. I think, well, as a veterinarian, my responsibility would be to, where did it go? Oh yeah, there. My responsibility would be to keep abreast with what's happening even here and internationally. But the information is there and it is public knowledge and it's accessible.
Okay, all right, cool. We got another caller on the line.
Yeah,
that phone acting.
The importer, he didn't even want to mention St. Louis. If the thing was legal, you could have just said St. Lucia. They asked him. He didn't even open his mouth and say St. Lucia. He said he's not this. So that means he had a secret somewhere around the line.
Who, me? No.
Over infrastructure. It's time for
No.
ministers to stop
Let me answer that caller.
under the government. And this government make a change. Let them do it.
Government again.
Right. Okay,
That's
caller.
it.
Thank you so much.
Let me answer the caller.
Yeah, but
It
I
was
don't
not my.
think she said, no, I don't
Yeah,
think
caller.
you. I don't think she said you, Doc. During
I thought she said
the very first time that story broke, the was outlined or brought forth on the internet. The question was asked to
what?
Mr. Smith, which country,
Oh,
right? And
the
then
horse
he
came from.
said, I won't say the country right now. So he didn't want to disclose the country either. So the question that people are asking, like, why you don't want to disclose the country? Like, if it was a straightforward deal, if it was something that was straight above the board and didn't have no issues or whatever the case is, why you can't say it was St. Lucia or Barbados? What's the big deal?
No, that's like somebody claiming something come from Grenada without official process.
And
Like I
Go ahead. Go ahead. That was Eugene, but his video.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, like I would not have said what country it was because it's not my place to say what country it was. I think the ministry or the farmer, it was their place to say. So in my initial, I can't answer for the farmer why he did not say where. I can't answer for anybody else, but I think in official processes, you won't just put another country under the bus, especially for a reportable disease. You should make sure everything go through official channels and release in a certain way. Because I don't know what publication St. Lucia makes on Barbacia, even though we know it's there. So I, as a professional, would not be the person to bring that information to the public. I would leave it for somebody from the official capacity to do it.
Right. Guys, again, you're watching Right Along Live. We are about over the time. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, yeah, it's a long time. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have about 3 more minutes to talk about our last one call. So if you're on the call, you got to call in right now. We'll be right back. Don't move.
Welcome to the island's boldest ATV experience. The only tour daring enough to bring you this level of excitement, freedom, and adrenaline. Feel the power. Conquer rugged trails. Experience breathtaking views. Ride beyond the ordinary. Feel the power. This is not just a tour. This is the power of Ride ATV. Get ready for fun. Get ready for excitement. Get ready to ride. Book now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Ride ATV. Adventure starts here.
Folks, we're back here and we have Nugent and Dr. Carter on the line from Carter Vet. We're about to close off now. Nugent, your final thoughts on this process, on this whole thing right here. How could all of this been prevented? How could this could have been prevented?
Well, first of all, I think it's real unfortunate that we have reached that position, but I think that situation could have been prevented and should be prevented. One, by a more timely response. If the guy made an application, now remember we're dealing with time organization in terms of schedule for shipment and everything. So those things are not indefinite, right? And therefore, if there is a standard in terms of time, as Dr. Kata was saying earlier on, by 10 days, 14 days, they need to get a response, right? Then I think from the ministry standpoint, if they do not have a system in place for responding, maybe something should be put in place that you respond to the farmer in a more timely manner so that the receiving party on the other end could have the information on time, carry out all the necessary tests, provide your results so that the ministry is fed with the necessary information that they need in order to issue the permit. Secondly, again, I want to go back to following of protocol and standards. This thing is not an issue of giving a blight, right? There is too much at stake for us to be breaking the protocol, bending the rules to toot somebody, maybe because he's your friend or he's a good buddy of yours or you know somebody, right? Quarantine matters, especially when it comes for disease, transfer of disease is a matter of life and death. It's a matter of national food security. It's a matter of our sovereignty. It's a matter as to how it affects the economy down the road. And therefore, this thing should be approached with utmost professionalism. Utmost professionalism. And at the same time, it's a win-win where the ministry feels happy and the farmer feels happy as the recipient also.
Right, right. Before you give your last word, I have a video clip of an interview on GBN. I want you guys to react to this real quick.
This is from where?
Just got in there.
No, I'm not going to say where I import the horses from. The horses came.
That was an interview with the farmer on GBN. That clip complements GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network. Listen to it.
I don't hear nothing now.
Another country.
Is it in the region?
Yes.
Okay. Did you follow all the required legal framework to import? Because you know.
Sir, well, let me make it clear here. This is something that I did before on many occasions. In fact, I bring horses from many different countries before. You understand? So it's a simple procedure to do that.
Okay.
But the people in authority, they decided to make things difficult, you know?
In what way?
Okay, so when I have all my documents ready, all my veterinary documents ready from the other country, the people are not crazy. The people are professionals. They know what they're doing. They know they're shipping a horse. They know all the documents that have to be done. And all of that was done. Everything was ready. The horses were negative at first. When I contacted Dr. Kimon Cummins, this guy always playing games with Grenada.
Okay, let's hold on, caller. Let's refrain from the name calling. Let's deal with the issue and not persons. All right, we're dealing with the overall issue. Let's leave the person and personality out of it.
If you want to deal with the issue, we have to deal with the people who are responsible for giving out these permits, and I have to call the names because this is the issue.
Okay.
So if you don't want the name, then you cannot call me and ask. Then we cannot have this conversation.
Okay, so what went wrong?
The chief veterinary officer was just supposed to issue a permit. The guy keep playing games. The guy saying he go call me back. The days, weeks, the man not calling back. When I call him, the guy not answering the calls. The guys are acting very unprofessional. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So the games they're playing, they make me miss the ship the first time because they didn't issue the permit. So then I try again for the next shipment. When the next shipment was ready, the vets over in the other country test the horses again, and then they realized the horses test positive for Babesia, which is a simple tick-borne disease. All of my horses was tested positive for Babesia before and was easily treated. You understand? So the people contacted them in the ministry and asked them, well, they said that the horses are already loaded and they don't want to give it the medication at that time because it's a strong medication and it could affect them during the journey. So the guy told them, no, he's not going to do it. But then I called the guy personally because I know I just do a lot of work for the Ministry of Agriculture. I transporting all the animals all over the island in Grenada, you know. So the guy told me he on vacation, so call the other guy in position right now that could assist me. When I call the guy tell me, yeah man, we could do that for you. Just have the veterinarians in the other country email him the information. And the veterinarians did that. In fact, the same night. And the next day, the veterinarians in the other country contacted me and told me that they're going to send me all the documents by 10 o'clock. Because they already forwarded the guy the email. And then when 10 o'clock, I didn't get the documents. But we already loaded the horses on the vessel. And this is a very expensive thing to do. Very expensive, you know. The boat left Grenada, we left here. They both came to Grenada, collect my crates, and went to that country to collect my horses. So there's no turning back there because a lot of money is involved. And I mean, we are all Grenadians. We know how hard it is for money to come by. And this is why we have ministries and so on to help each other. So I asked the guys for help. He told me yes. Then when we load the horses, he never responded to the veterinarians over in the other country until after 4 p.m. in the evening, and the horses are already loaded on the boat. And then he responded to the veterinarian with a different story to what he told me. He told her, no, he's not going to do it. You know? By that time, the veterinarian contacted me. That's the chief veterinarian in another country. You're talking about professional people who've been in the field for years, you know? Contacted me and tell me what the guy said. So I tried calling him again. The guy started playing the same games. He would not answer any calls from me. But we tried to get a horse off the boat. But the ship, you know, is like a plane getting ready to leave off on the runway and he's taking off with speed already. No stopping it now. We can't get the horses off the boat at that time. You know, all how we try. Boat close up, boat leave already.
So caller, in essence, you got the permit to bring in the animals.
No, they didn't give me the permit in my hand, but it was all, they was dealing with email. The two countries was dealing with emails, you know. So this is a simple thing to do. A permit is a simple thing to get if the people are giving it willing to do it. But for some reason, the people keep fighting me down and keep brambling me, as we say it in Grenadian terms.
Okay.
They're playing games, you know.
So as it relates to the euthanasia of the animals, right? At what stage was it decided?
Right.
That is the only alternative.
What? From the morning, I went back. The horses arrived on the port, and I went back to the permanent secretary because I went to the permanent secretary and told him the situation when the chief veterinary officer and his subordinate was not answering my calls. I went to the permanent secretary and explained everything to the guy, you know. And from that morning, he told me as now the horses land in Grenada, the ministry gonna kill them. I beg and plead to the guys, and they didn't listen to nothing I had to say. I give them options to quarantine the animals.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that was a lot there.
Yeah, you know, that's actually my first time hearing that interview there.
Yeah, well, me too. Someone sent it to me while I was on, and they just put it into context there. But with all of this, and Nugent, please chime in here. With all of this now being said, does that help his case?
Well, what I can tell you that is, if what the guy is claiming, because he's calling names, and he called the top three brass, and if what he is saying has credibility, then it simply means that there is a serious lack of professionalism in handling this matter, right? But even my position, even if in the middle of this lack of professionalism, again, the horse should not have left St. Lucia, but he is claiming that even while trying to hold back the horse, the boat left, and the boat's left with the horse on it. So it's definitely is to Grenada is coming. You know, so again, maybe it may be necessary now for, if that happened, for some form of consideration. I don't know if you call it compromise, but discretion, that takes in a lot of discretion here now. How do we treat with that based on the situation outlined?
It put new context to the term.
Yeah.
From the horse's mouth. Doc?
I think no, a lot of the information what he said in that interview, the information is not new, but the interview is new, and
well,
it
first time I hear that,
but it corresponds to some of the things I was told. Okay, so if you notice, I said something about the documents was sent, and the horses had all the required documents according to the farmer. That corresponds with that, and I knew there was some assurances in the St. Lucia side. I did not know that but I think the farmer did not mention that he was in Grenada at that time and he was not in St. Lucia, and I did not know that the part where they were trying to get the horse off the boat, etc. So such a situation, if he was trying to get the horse off the boat and he does have an email track record stating there were communications, now what I would suggest anyone else to do, do not send your email to one individual. Send it to the official veterinary livestock division, send it to the PS, and send it to the chief vet. That's what I do. And whenever I have to get a permit, I tell my clients whatever is the maximum stated time. They say 2 weeks. I say, listen, no guarantee you could get this permit before 2 weeks. That's what I do. So don't expect. But based on what the person said on that interview, he was within the recommended expectations, and he did not get it once and he did it a second time. Now, does it help him? Maybe, maybe not. It depends. Now, again, on the port, it did not help him because there was no leniency. So if they were to go to court, I understand the government is trying to file charges against him. That's what they were that said. I don't know if he's going to try to file charges against them or sue them or do something. So does it help one or the other? Only probably a court or a judge could decide that. In the court of public opinion, half of the people say it's political, so the man is wrong. The other half say the
But
ministry
Dr.
is wrong.
Carter, can he provide evidence of that information?
I think only Mr. Smith would be able to tell you if he could provide evidence. I did ask him though. I told him that he should find all the email correspondence, and if he had calls or any documentation, document it to prove his case. Because in a situation, what I like to do, and I would advise other people to do that too, if you're sending an official document through official channels, make sure you have a copy. Try to, for transparency, send it to an independent source, especially with things like that. That way you cover all ends. You can always bring back your dated document, send it in a PDF, not a Word document, so they cannot edit it. Cover all your ends, because from experience working along the system, it doesn't always go the way it is stated it's supposed to go.
True.
And something like that, I would not go by verbal assurances, especially with a horse. If I was to invest so much into a horse, if I'm bringing in a dog that I'm getting free, I make sure I cover all ends. So I would not go through verbal assurances, especially investing with such a large animal and a big shipment. So it is unfortunate. My professional opinion is that leniency could have been applied since the disease is already here. That's on the Babesia side of things. But from the statement the government made it clear, it seems that they covered themselves legally already. My personal opinion, I would withhold on the situation. Ironically, I've never worked with Mr. Smith in my life as a veterinarian. I knew him from primary school actually, but I've never worked with him. I've worked with most of the other house people on the island. So I'm not speaking from a position of bias. I've actually had more encounter on the ministry side than the farmer side. But for a disease that has been published to be here, if it came here under those circumstances, and most of the things he said, from my experience, would have experienced walking along trying to get permits. So it is not unreasonable that what he said happened. I cannot guarantee it happened, but it is not unreasonable based on experience in the last few years. But I would not have shipped an animal without the documentation, because you just can't take any chances.
Right. Listen, we're gonna wrap up here. I am due to do some investigation into this whole thing. I promise you guys I'll be back with you with that information as it relates to from the St. Lucia end. I do have some contacts that's working some leads for me there in St. Lucia to find out how did those animals left and allowed to leave St. Lucia. So we're going to get back to you on that. I want to say thank you to you, Doctor, for giving us more time than we asked for initially. And actually, Nugent, thank you so much for contacting us and coming through in such a short period of time. You guys was absolutely knowledgeable and gave me good insight on this conversation here. Thanks again, guys. We appreciate you. Any last word before we wrap up, Doc?
Let me say something. Now, for the people who want to get a background light on veterinary activity in Grenada, I'm always an advocate for veterinarians in Grenada. They could look up the Dr. Carter Vet YouTube. We have 550 videos treating dog, cat, ticks all over the country. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to say, I forgot that. It was said that there can be no control of tick in the island. I mean, it is unfortunate that the chief vet said that, but there is a lot of very effective tick control that farmers could implement, as well as people with dog and cat. So if you have a tick problem and you're trying, you could reach out via message or email drcartervet@gmail. I'm not trying to get business off of you. If you say it's from this interview, I wouldn't even charge you for the information.
Well, that's
We
good.
could tell you ways you can protect your animals and your livestock against tick in Grenada if you need that help. That's it there.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Eugene?
Well, to the listening public, as a livestock, well, I have since retired from the ministry and now with my private practice consulting on livestock production. That's my area of expertise. But I would tell you, as a Grenadian and as somebody who worked in the field from since 2008, directly in livestock from 2008, I have a passion for livestock production. And I think we at a junction now where Grenada is making a concerted effort to ensure our national food security. And our protein security is what would take us there the quickest, right? Poultry, and of course, we're talking about small ruminants, pigs, etc. What I would like to see is that there is a greater level of professionalism in how we do things from the ministry standpoint and from the private sector as well. I would also like to see some work being done in terms of policy direction. It is my strong view that even if the ministry or the government is trying to push increased livestock production, our current legislation, especially when it comes from Ministry of Health, does not lend itself to that kind of increase that we want to, right? We still have issues with people making bogus claims that, people paying and whatnot, smelling, and it contravenes with Ministry of Health, with nuisance and whatnot. So you can't push in production and then you have people making false claim that interferes with what you're trying to push, right? So I would really like to see the government of Grenada make some intervention in terms of revising our laws when it comes for health and lends itself to increased production. And in terms of quarantine, people, this thing is not political. It should never be political. It's about our national food security and sovereignty. Let us keep it that way and let us do all we can to protect Grenada. Grenada is practically free from most major disease. Dr. Carter would attest to that, right? What we
doing good.
struggle with normal liquor, external parasites, we tick, we flea, we lights and wrongworms and stuff, right? And if we could keep all the major thing on them, that is novel in most cases. Let us do all we can to protect Grenada livestock.
Well said there. Thank you so much, Nugent and Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter, you're saying something?
Yeah, one more thing to say.
Yes.
I want to urge, I don't want to have the last say, but I want to urge veterinarians, especially veterinarians in Grenada, whether they're practicing or not. The truth is, there's lots of Grenadian veterinarians who've qualified as veterinarians living in Grenada have never practiced veterinary medicine. So I want to urge them to come together because we need a veterinary council. Something like that could have gone before a panel of professionals in the field, and a decision could have been made that would have been beneficial to everyone. We need a veterinary council. We need them to stand on board. The veterinarians have no representation. And as most people can see, we don't normally get answer when we call the ministry. So we have no representation. We have a lot of veterinarians. If you're looking to be a veterinarian as well, to come back and work in Grenada, you can do well. The demand for veterinarians in Grenada is higher than it's ever been. But most people choose to go and work elsewhere. So come back and work as a veterinarian. Maybe you could have been the one getting the documents for that man horse and he might have come faster, Let me get a veterinary council, let me get veterinarians on board. Encourage your children to that. Become a veterinarian, you could do well in Grenada. Don't say I'm doing well, but you could do well in Grenada as a vet. So let some people stand up, man, and then a few people could stand up for a few more things and the things going to change in the positive way. Because I support the improvement of the local livestock industry. Currently, any improvement, all of us benefit from it. I'm a farmer myself. I used to have a lovely cow. I can't get a cow to buy in the country. Nobody can get a cow to buy. Everybody wants to buy a cow. The pigs, when we see some nice pigs came in the ministry, the truth is the pig is the one that's going to show the results first. And the sheep and the goat, hopefully, I hope if a lot of them survive and they get into the local population, we should see some benefits too. So let we see. Let people come. Let we actually come out there and support the people supporting farming and livestock production.
All right.
And a situation like that, let we don't talk about the horse some more. That is it. I'll leave it with that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carter and Nugent. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Right along live, this extended conversation was brought to you with the kind compliments of Ride Go. Listen, do you need a taxi? Like you need to get somewhere and you don't want to get on the bus or you can't find any other friend to take you there? Well, that's why you need Ride Go. Ride Go. Yeah, Ride Go. It's that app in your phone that you press and you get to go there. Ride Go. Where do you want to go? We're back.
Need a taxi? Download Ride Go from the App Store. Tap the app.
There's a new way to move in Grenada. Ride Go. Ride Go is here. Ride Go. Where do you want to go?
So brothers and sisters, yellow! Grenada, the month of June will come alive. 4 years ago, we made a decision to move our nation forward. Now, we are stronger and more determined than ever before.
Unity is strength, and we getting stronger.
On Sunday, June 21st, the National Democratic Congress invites you to the biggest celebration of progress, hope, and people-centered leadership at the Monrouge Plainfield for the NDC's 4th anniversary mega rally.
Yellow fever.
Under the powerful theme, 4 years stronger, you, me, us. Thousands will gather in one voice, one heart, and one vision for Grenada's future.
Now we give them yellow, 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 yellow. Yellow fever.
Come hear the leadership shaping tomorrow. The Most Honorable Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, Honorable Andy Williams, the South Boss, Honorable Ron Redhead, Senator Claudette Joseph, Honorable Philip Telesford, and more. Experience live performances, electrifying energy, powerful messages of transformation, and the unstoppable spirit of the people of Grenada as we celebrate fathers across the nation and the world. Contact your constituency office for transportation. Bring your flags, bring your family, and most importantly, bring your yellow. Sunday, June 21st from 5 p.m. NDC Mega Rally 2026. 4 years stronger. You, me, us.
Things happening.
Hi, I want $10 on Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3, and cash for each, please. Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet? Yes, multi-X, all of them. Smart. Best value bet. Backup and multi-X, you cannot go wrong. Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add multi-X to all your Playway, daily Pick 3, and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
For Grenada to realize its true potential, we must all be a part of nation building. From every corner of the world, our sons and daughters carry the spirit of the Spice Isle in their hearts through culture, innovation, investment, and service. Now is the time to come home to your beautiful Tri-Island state, to reconnect with our roots, share our knowledge, to inspire our youth, and to help shape a stronger, more resilient economy for generations to come. We are all part of the collective journey to shape the future of our nation. Together, we are building a nation we are proud of, a nation defined by opportunity, unity, and purpose. Grenada is more than a place on the map. It is our heritage, our future, our home. We look forward to welcoming you.
Yeah, guys, just in the within the hour, I don't know if you guys have been following the international news, but the U.S. Strike Iran with a new wave of attacks that's happening right now as we speak. So expect a lot more craziness going on. So again, guys, it's breaking news coming in internationally and locally, because you know when it's out there, but it's still in your backyard, right? U.S. strike on Iran is currently in effect. The president there saying that we go strike them real hard. Okay. Also, guys, I was telling you earlier, if you're traveling or if you're going anywhere and you need to get around, the easiest, fastest, most accessible way to get there is through RideGo. RideGo is an app, right, that goes on your phone. So whenever you need a taxi, you go to your phone like this and you just tap the app, you get RideGo. See that? RideGo, right? It's actually a taxi app. See if you can see it. Boom. You just put your location and where you're going, and then the taxi will come to your current location and pick you up there. You don't have to walk to no taxi stand. You don't have to go out in the sun, in the rain. Just stay wherever you are. Stay wherever you are. The car is going to come to your home and pick you up. So how do you get RideGo? Very, very easy. Very, very easy. Click that link right there. Or let me put it in there. RideGo, RYDEGO.com. ridego.com/customer.gd. All right, to download it, ridego.com/customer. There you go, right there. Click that. Download RideGo from the App Store, guys. Send it off to a friend. RideGo. That's the name. That's the app. Yes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program, guys. Don't forget the Diaspora Homecoming that's coming on the 21st. Let me know if you guys are going to be in Grenada for that, because we do have a lot of special both on the app and on the excursion. So if you're coming for the Diaspora Homecoming, which is 2 weeks of, is an amazing reunion for 2 weeks. People coming from all over to be a part of this. Can't miss it. The Diaspora Homecoming. Right there. And also, guys, you want to check out the Diaspora Marketplace connected today. Opportunities for tomorrow. Bringing together Grenadians from all across the globe, showcasing products, your services, and innovation. Build meaningful connection, encourage collaboration across industries, unlock new opportunities for growth. The Diaspora Marketplace, check it out. And that's going to be the Radisson Convention Center, right? You don't want to miss out on that. For more information, guys, you could go to the website at homecoming.gd. That's homecoming.gd. That's where you register, or you email info@homecoming.gd. All right? Okay? Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program, guys. We appreciate you. I say good night, good night, good night, and good night. See you tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Don't forget to download RideGo, guys. Go into the App Store and download RideGo. RideGo. And we have some amazing announcements, because we're going to be expanding into other countries soon. Yeah, soon. Soon. Good night. Catch you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.